again, everyone. I'm Mary. I'm a holistic healer. My channel is Great Light Rising. And today we're talking about dreams and dream interpretation, what kinds of messages you get in your dreams and how to understand them. We're going to talk about the different kinds of dreams you might have, because yes, there are different kinds of dreams with different kinds of messages, and you'll easily learn how to recognize them. You see, it's all part of your inner psyche, your unconscious and subconscious minds. Those are two aspects of your mind that operate on you without you being aware. We don't need to understand all the finer details of the differences between the unconscious and the subconscious. Psychoanalysts argue that those are two different regions of the mind, but that's not important to us here. We just have to know that dreams can come from either region of the psyche. And that's what makes them so valuable, because they help us access the parts of ourselves that we might have suppressed or forgotten or simply don't know about. It's like how our soul is guiding our lives. So dreams allow us to tap into parts of ourselves beyond our conscious awareness. This is important because our conscious mind is shaped by our experiences, and those become filters for what we do and think. And our consciousness is also shaped by our ego mind, which is subject to the programming we receive as babies, children, adults. You know, people telling us what's right and what's wrong, people telling us what we should believe and how we should behave in society, instead of teaching us to decide for ourselves. Our ego mind tells us not to try something new in case we fail. Our unconscious mind might be secretly egging us on through dream messages and creating synchronicities that make us think perhaps we should go out on a limb and give something a new try, despite our reservations. When you're out on a limb, you're pursuing your authentic self, your authentic purpose. And even if it all goes wrong, you will have learned something valuable. But more often than not, things will work out in a magical way that you couldn't have even dreamed was possible, except that you actually might have dreamed it before it became a reality. Our dreams often reflect the way we feel about something, even if we don't always admit it in our conscious minds. So for example, if we're trying to drive up a steep hill and the car keeps sliding backwards or veering off the road, this means we're struggling with something and finding it hard. Cars in our dreams usually represent our lives and how we are trying to steer or control our lives, how we're trying to navigate life's challenges. This kind of dream means we have taken on something very hard, or we're feeling out of control. If the car slides backwards in our dream, we feel that we are losing ground with something. We're afraid of failure. If the car makes it to the top of the hill, but although after a struggle, we might be feeling more confident, knowing that we can get there if we just keep going. So this kind of dream is reflecting our inner state. It's not a prediction of failure. That's important to understand. Dreams are usually not predictive. Now, sometimes they can be, and we'll talk about that in a few moments. However, sometimes your stress can attract failure. If you dream about your car sliding backwards, you can't get it up that hill no matter how much you push on the accelerator, then you're under a lot of stress in your life, and that might attract failure into your life. And then you might think that the dream had been predictive, but actually that was the law of attraction, bringing into your life whatever you were worrying about, and that's a different thing altogether. So most of the time, dreams are letting us know that's how we feel about things. In short, they show us whether we are under stress or not. When we recognize a stress dream, we can then make a decision to do something that makes the task easier. We can stop working at the task or ask for help. If it's something that we must get done, like looking after aging parents, for example, then perhaps it's time to seek professional help, like an in-home nurse, or call on other family members to chip in. You get the idea. But your dream is showing you that you're having stress and losing grip on things because life has overwhelmed you. And that means you should do something about it. I often have clients who hit a bump in the road that's somewhat difficult or traumatic, and they tell me that they handled it really well and it isn't really bothering them. But then unexpectedly, they break out in hives and they go off to the allergist to find out what they are allergic to. But more often than not, this is the body's reaction to them not acknowledging their own stress. They are allergic to their own stress. All the meds in the world won't take away the stress. They'll only mask the symptoms, and then the symptoms go deeper. So then something even more serious happens to their health. But dreams are a valuable tool that can help you steer your life on a nice straight road without too many twists and turns, once you learn how to remember them and how to interpret their messages. So that's what we're talking about here today. By the way, we also have very positive dreams. Flying dreams can often indicate that we feel unstoppable. Our hearts are soaring. If we are flying over fields, enjoying the scenery and connecting with nature, we are in our element. But if we fly to the top of a building and hit a window and we can't fly out of it, that's another kind of meaning. Whether you remember a dream or not is a reflection of how spiritually aware you are, how tuned in you are to yourself, as it were. Some people say they never dream, while others have recurring nightmares night after night, and some of us have multiple dreams every night. Whether or not you dream depends on several things. I actually believe everyone has dreams, but some people just don't remember them. People who don't ever remember any dreams may have something they don't want to face. Or the opposite might be true. Everything might be going so well, they don't need help from their other selves, from their unconscious mind, from their spirit guides that are steering their soul journey. Mostly, and it's hard to generalize, of course, but a person with a reasonably happy life and healthy emotional state will have a dream every now and then that they do remember, but they won't be tormented by recurring nightmares. If you have recurring nightmares or regular bad dreams, it could help you to go to a holistic health practitioner. I use Reiki, homeopathy, and biofield tuning to help people tune into their spiritual side and make sense of their dreams. What I mean by that is once you tune into your spiritual side, it's easier to make sense of your dreams. Often, someone else can give you a quick insight into one of your dreams, and once you see it, once you see what the dream is telling you, it'll help you enormously to turn your life around. Your dreams give you helpful messages even when they come in the form of nightmares or uncomfortable recurring dreams. But once you get the message and do something about it, they stop. It's hard to see these things for ourselves because we are at the center of the storm, as it were, but someone else might be able to see it if you talk to them. In homeopathy, we often ask people about their dreams because it helps us understand where they are emotionally. Homeopathy is a very emotional sort of medicine. It has to resonate not just with your physical condition, but also with your emotional condition. And that is often revealed in dreams, whereas people have a hard time putting it into words because they don't always know or understand where they are emotionally. When people say they don't remember any dreams, I just wait patiently. Sooner or later, they remember a small snippet of a dream from long ago. We all have dreams. If you want to remember your dreams, write them down. Write it down even if you only remember one thing, such as, I know I saw the color yellow in my dream. Then write that down. Sometimes the act of writing it down stimulates your mind to remember another thing. Sooner or later, you start remembering more and more of your dreams. Just write down whatever you remember when you get up in the morning. Take a couple of minutes over coffee or whatever to make a few notes, and you'll find you start remembering more and more dreams, and then you can tap into their wisdom. What are they telling you? How are they guiding you? I once knew someone who had suffered brain damage, and she said, I don't dream because of my brain damage. But she functioned perfectly well in every other sense. So I told her that's a belief system. You don't dream because you believe you can't. If you let go of the belief that you can't dream, you will start having dreams. And she did that, and she started to remember her dreams. So don't give yourself excuses, oh, I'm someone who can't dream. Just suspend your disbelief, as they say, and let it be a possibility, and you will start to get your dreams. So there are several types of dreams. The most common is the type we've been talking about, where you get messages from your conscious and unconscious mind about your state of mind. Among this kind of dream, we get dreams called epic dreams. Epic dreams are the ones you remember all your life because they're very impactful. Most of the time, we only remember dreams on the moment of waking up, and then we forget them immediately. If you realize you've had a dream but then you forget it, there's nothing to worry about because you probably got the message. And somehow that will help to change your behavior. Our dreams influence our behavior. According to the ancient Chinese, these are the best kinds of dreams because nothing too serious is going on and you're absorbing the messages of your dreams. So if you're aware that you have dreams but you don't remember them, that's kind of indicating that you're in a pretty healthy state, at least emotionally. I often go to bed with a plan for the next day and wake up and do something completely different, like I was compelled to do something. During the night, I got a message. I don't always know what the message was, or I don't always know for sure that I got one, but when I wake up, I'm compelled to do something. I believe this momentum comes from my dreams. I'm a great dreamer. I have lots of dreams each night, but I don't always remember them in detail. However, before getting up, I always stop and ask myself what I was dreaming and what that dream might mean. Sometimes I can see the meaning in it, and sometimes I don't. But I've been doing this stuff for long enough that I just give in to the idea that the dream will guide my behavior that day, and I allow myself to flow with anything that I have the urge to do that day, within reason. When I was a child, I wanted a doll so much, and my parents were very careful with their money. So they always bought me a doll, but never the kind I wanted. I wanted a doll with long, beautiful hair so that I could comb it and style it. And they always bought me like a baby doll with no hair or a doll with short hair. So one night I dreamed that I went downstairs and opened the cupboard where the toys were kept, and there was this amazing life-size doll with long brown hair. So beautiful, I couldn't believe it was really mine. This dream was so vivid, I thought it was real. And the next day when I got up from bed, I went to the cupboard to get the doll, fully believing it was going to be there. But it wasn't there. This kind of dream reflected my heart's desire. There wasn't much as a child I could do to get that doll, except keep asking for it. Later, as an adult, I felt sorry for that little girl who never got what she wanted. And I try today to fill that need in myself by giving in and buying some of the things I really want, even if I can't afford them. Of course, I can't buy everything, but I can indulge myself now and then. We all can, and we should. Nightmares and recurring dreams are also messages about your emotional state. Nightmares reflect your deepest fears. They can be the result of fear itself or the result of earlier trauma that is not being processed. When something important happens in our life, something that disturbs us greatly, it gets imprinted in the very cells of our body as trauma. The cells of our body are where we store our mind and our long-term memory. This is the work of people like Candace Pert and Bruce Lipton. It's proven science, so don't think I'm making this up. Your mainstream doctor might not know it, but holistic health practitioners consider it standard run-of-the-mill information. And the ancients knew it. Once you realize where a nightmare is coming from, what part of yourself needs healing, then the nightmare will stop. Biofield tuning and Reiki are really good modalities for getting to the root of a nightmare or a recurring dream. For some people, hypnotherapy might be an option too. That doesn't always work for everybody, but it does work for some people, so it's worth giving it a try. All energy modalities will work for you in this way to release trauma, to heal trauma, to help you tune in to your spiritual side, to your higher self. When I say energy modalities, I'm talking about Reiki, quantum healing, biofield tuning, homeopathy, and so on. The energy modalities release the trapped emotions from the cells of the body. And sometimes this will happen gently without you having to recall the emotion or recall the memory. Then you can reach a true place of healing and get on with creating a beautiful life, instead of one that's governed by a subconscious fear that you can't even name. Recurring dreams may be nightmares or uncomfortable dreams or just something you don't completely understand. Recurring dreams are just messages that you haven't really got yet. You haven't really understood them. For example, one of my clients had a recurring dream all her life. She dreamed that she was in a very bad neighborhood and she couldn't get back home, and she would get lost and she couldn't find anyone to help her. She said that when she woke up, she told herself not to rely on other people. So she isolated herself and became very independent. But at the same time, she was very unhappy and lonely. In fact, this dream was not talking about relying on other people. She was lost in her soul purpose. That's what she was lost in. She was in a bad neighborhood. That means she was not on the right life path. She wasn't surrounding herself with the right people. In a minute, we'll talk about the people we encounter in our dreams. They are all aspects of ourself. So the people in her dream who represented people from a bad neighborhood were her own demons that she needed to face. She did seek help and she did get help in the end. I used homeopathy to help her. I used a spider remedy. It helped her to clear out the cobwebs in her mind that were causing her to have this recurring dream. And she didn't understand it and she wasn't able to see the meaning of it, but after the remedy, she saw it more clearly. When you get the message your recurring dream is sending you, it stops. So dreams that show us how we really feel emotionally on a subconscious level are also sometimes guidance dreams. Another client told me this dream. When I was in my 20s, there was a boy in my life and we had been friends for some time, and he asked me out. I resisted because I knew he was not really my type. He carried deep emotional scars as well, and I was not ready to deal with that part of him. But he liked me very much, and in the end, I agreed to go out with him. That night, I had a dream that showed me riding in his car with him, and we were driving up a straight and very long street with a lot of traffic lights, and every traffic light was turned red as his car approached it. I knew the dream was telling me, with all those red traffic lights, that this was not the right thing for me. So I broke things off with him, and I've never regretted the decision, although I do wonder whatever became of him. She's talking about herself in her younger years with this epic dream that she remembered. This particular woman was very tuned in to herself. So in the end, you see this person broke things off with her, I guess he wasn't actually her boyfriend, but she broke things off with him, and then she was coming to me for something else. But that shows a very clear spiritual connection with self, right? That she saw this guidance in her dream. She recognized immediately this guidance in her dream and she acted on it. That's kind of like an ideal situation, an ideal way to use your dreams. She didn't stop to second guess the dream. So this is a guidance dream. And this dream was showing her inner state. There was something in her resisting the relationship, but she knew it was coming as guidance. And so it was very clear to her what she needed to do. This is similar to the kind of dream that Joseph, the father of Jesus, had. An angel appeared to Joseph and told him to flee with his family to Egypt because Herod wanted to kill the baby Jesus. This was clearly a guidance dream. And Joseph, like my friend, didn't hesitate to follow the guidance in his dream. And he took his family to Egypt and Jesus was saved, even though Herod had many little boy babies killed. This story appears in Matthew chapter 2, if you want to read about it. In modern times, I've worked with many people in my practice who have dreams that they are in a classroom learning lessons about all kinds of things, primarily connected with their soul purpose. I've had many dreams like this myself, and I've met several other people who get these kinds of dreams. In my dreams, my classroom was often a spaceship or a big building with many stairs. We'll talk about stairways in a minute. I believe that our spirit guides and other helpers from beyond this realm of existence are teaching us and helping us in our roles as light workers and way showers to learn the ropes so that we can teach others about waking up spiritually and creating a beautiful world at peace with itself. That's why I do my work. That's what I want to create. That's what I am manifesting. in my own life and in the world around me. So that's another kind of dream, a learning dream. Now, in the dream world, everything is a symbol. The language is symbolic. I believe in the astral planes, we may indeed be in spaceships or fighting wars. I met a man who claimed to be from Arcturus, and he was commissioned for a life on Earth, which he accepted gladly. In his dreams, he thought that he was fighting a dark force in the astral planes. The astral planes are the realm of existence beyond our conscious realm, where we meet as souls and continue our life purpose, or meet up with past loved ones, and so on. This man from Arcturus woke up with bruises on his body, aching and tired. He said this happened to him on a regular basis. You might ask how his body would get beaten up if he was traveling out of body in his spirit mind or his spirit body. But the mind, the body, spirit, you see, is all connected. And sometimes when something happens on an emotional level, it can absolutely manifest on a physical level. Like in the example I gave you above about a rash developing when you think you have things under control, but really you're in denial about your feelings, about your anger, about your frustration, and you suppress them, and that's when you break out in a rash. You know, I could have chosen not to believe him, but he was a very sincere person, and I believed he was telling the truth. But you can make up your own mind. My son had a dream once, and I forget all the details, but he was doing something with a friend, and while he was having the dream, he was staying over at his friend's house. And when they woke up, his friend had had the exact same dream, almost exactly the same dream. It was so wild. This blew my son's mind because he says he doesn't believe in all this stuff. And yet, he clearly had a dream where he was connecting with his friend in the astral planes, and they were doing something together. This is a sure sign of a soul connection. Some other kind of dreams are what we call processing dreams or filing dreams. Let's say you went to the theme park and you spent all day riding on roller coasters, and you come home and in your dreams you're riding on roller coasters. You're constantly feeling the ups and the downs and the movement in your stomach, and you feel it over and over again throughout the dream. You had an intense experience, albeit possibly a very fun experience. But now your mind has to process that. You did the same thing over and over, something that you don't normally do. And so your mind has to extract what it needs from that and file it away for future reference. If there were any negative aspects to the experience or positive aspects to the experience, those will be filed in different ways. Negative aspects will be embedded in your subconscious in such a way that you will resist that behavior in the future. And positive experiences will be filed in such a way that you will be drawn to that experience again next time. This is the job of the subconscious mind, to keep us safe from things that hurt us or have the potential to hurt us. So still another kind of dream is the visitation dream. Now, in a regular dream, all of the people in your dreams are yourself, and we're going to talk about this next. But in a dream that brings a message or guidance, if you dream about your mother, she's not your mother, but the mother aspect of yourself, the mothering aspect of yourself, the part of you that nurtures and comforts. This is true for men and women. But if your mother has made her transition to the other side, if she's passed over and she visits you in a dream, this might be a visitation dream. The difference is subtle, and you'll need to use your intuition, your gut instinct, to tell the difference. But there are sometimes other clues as well. And again, this is a generalization, so it might not be true for you, but it's true for many people. In guidance dreams, your mother is your mother, but she doesn't look quite like your real mother. You know how in dreams, people tend to be sort of a little bit, something's a little bit off about it, about the way they look or the way they behave. There's just something a little strange about their appearance. You know it's your mother, but she doesn't look exactly like your mother. That's usually a sign that it's the archetypal mother, or that it's the mother in you, that it's an aspect of yourself. In a visitation dream, and again, this isn't 100% always true, but it's what I found to be generally true. In a visitation dream, it's more likely that she looks very much like your real mother. Now, she might be a younger version of herself, like you might be seeing her as she wished to portray herself as a young person before you were born, but she will look like your mother. She will look like a photograph of your mother, or she may present herself as more how she looked when she passed, or how she looked when she was raising you. But you'll recognize her as your mother, and so this is sometimes how you can tell the difference. So you have to go with your gut feeling when that happens to you. So let's talk about visitation dreams. Visits are real in the astral planes where we meet with our past loved ones. When we come back from the astral planes into our physical bodies, we pass once again through the veil of forgetting. So the connection then moves into the symbology of dream language, and we remember it as a dream, but it might have really happened. I've had this kind of dream several times. My mother passed when I was 16, and I had dreams of connection with her, and she would give me advice and counsel and comfort me. And my partner passed when I was in my 50s, and I had dreams that were so real, I knew for certain that it was really him. He passed under difficult circumstances, and he came several times to show me the progress he was making in his afterlife. You know, we continue learning in our afterlife. We don't float around on a cloud eating grapes when we're in heaven. No, no, no. We are working. We are working hard at our soul purpose. And sometimes we're working hard with other people, our soul family, who have incarnated. We're working with them in their incarnations. So, for example, one time my partner showed himself leaning happily on a white picket fence, reading a book, and he looked peaceful and happy. And in life, he loved to read. So, this was him doing something that he loved to do. And this was very reassuring because when he left, he was in agony and despair. And so, he wanted me to know that he was past that and he was safe. And that's often the purpose for a visitation dream. Sometimes it's to comfort you, and sometimes it's to let you know that the other person is safe on the other side. So visitation dreams are your loved ones letting you know that they're doing well, or sometimes, as I said, reassuring you through the dream that you are doing well, even though you miss them. Visitation dreams are my favorite kind of dreams because they connect us with the bigger network of souls and spirits that we might not otherwise encounter in our waking life. And they're reassuring and comforting. And they help us look forward to making our own transition so that we can reconnect with those beloved people who we knew in this life and wish to know again in the afterlife. Now, let's talk about another kind of dream, one more kind of dream, and then we'll get into how you can understand dream symbology. So this final kind of dream is the precognitive dream, which we referenced earlier, where you dream about something that hasn't happened yet, and then it comes to pass. How do you tell the difference between a message dream that is all about you, with people in it who are aspects of yourself, and a precognitive dream that might be about someone else or something else or an event that's about to happen? Well, if you have a precognitive dream, if you know that you have precognitive dreams, you probably have your own way of recognizing the precognitive dream from a regular dream. If not, then you just have to think about how it might be different, or again, going along with your intuition or your gut instinct. Just sometimes we just have a knowing that that wasn't a regular dream, especially if it's a negative event, if it's a bit scary to us. For me, it's like watching a super high definition video instead of the regular type of vision that I have in dreams, which is not so vivid. And the people look real and the colors look very vivid when it's a vision. And usually in a vision, I will wake up right after it, whereas in a dream, I might continue sleeping and then have another dream shortly after. Although I do often have dreams that I remember at the moment of waking up, and they're not visions. So precognitive dreams are not always happy, although they can be, but they are sometimes preparing us emotionally for something that's going to happen and we can't stop it. It gives us preparation time. Sometimes they just help us understand that we are tapped in psychically to the universe at large and we have abilities we can develop. This is especially true if we have a dream that has nothing to do with us, about an event that occurs and then it happens and then we say, oh, I dreamed about that. I knew it was going to happen, But what does it mean? It didn't involve me in any way. And sometimes we don't even know the people involved, so we can't warn them. But precognitive dreams are sometimes there to help us understand that we can tap in psychically, that we are tuning in to the collective, that we have this ability. And this is an ability we can develop and make useful in our everyday life. So one thing about precognition, whether it comes in a dream or whether it comes in your waking life, a lot of people feel that they have to tell the people in the vision what is coming if they know them. I personally think this is a matter of discernment, and I have several other holistic practitioners who agree with me on this. Not everybody agrees on this, though. It's a personal idea. It's a personal opinion. Sometimes, so that opinion goes like this. Sometimes you might feel guided to say something, and sometimes not. And it's not always necessary to say something. Just because you get information from the universe doesn't mean you always have to tell everybody about it. The vision's coming to you to prepare you, not to prepare them, especially if it concerns you. So sometimes if you feel it's right, you can keep the vision to yourself and don't share it, and don't feel guilty about that. Even if it happens, don't feel guilty that you didn't forewarn people, because a vision is often telling you that something is bound to happen and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, that might not always be true. Sometimes it might be the other way around, and the vision is telling you that if you change something, you can avoid it. So this is tricky business, you know. It's very difficult to know one way or another. So what I do when something like that happens to me is I go into a little meditation and I ask my guides to give me advice. Dear angel spirits, guides, what shall I do with this information? And then you listen to what comes into your heart and your mind, and that will be the right thing. All right, let's talk about the people in your dreams, because I said before that the people in your dreams are all aspects of you. Now, this is in the message or the guidance type of dream. Typically in nightmares and recurring dreams and epic dreams, all the people in your dreams are you. There are some archetypes in our lives. You'll sometimes recognize them in movies and books, and generally they mean the same for everyone. Like the wicked stepmother in Snow White and Cinderella, or a gentle guiding force like Yoda, or a great master and mentor like Obi-Wan Kenobi, or a powerful patriarch and tyrant like the Godfather. There are variations of the mother archetypes and variations of the father archetypes. If you're interested in this and in dream interpretation, I recommend getting a good book about dream interpretation and reading some books by or about Carl Jung, the Swiss psychoanalyst, who was big on the idea of archetypes, and he thought deeply about the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious mind, and he shaped a lot of ideas that we still believe today. It was Carl Jung who first started talking about the collective consciousness, which we can relate today to the Christ consciousness, the idea that we're all one, and at some level we share a collective mind, the mind of God. There are levels of mind. So when we talk about a collective mind, it's a part of our mind. It's not the only part of our mind. We also have an individual aspect to mind, and Carl Jung called this individuation. So when you dream about your mother, there's an aspect of you that needs mothering, or wishes to mother somebody or something. Now, depending on what type of mother you had, that will influence your interpretation. This is the tricky part of dream analysis, because sometimes a mother in your dreams might mean you need a little mothering. But if your mother was abusive or neglectful, then the mother appearing in your dreams, and if she appears very much like that, then this might not be an archetypal mother, but rather your own relationship with your mother. It might not be literally your mother, but the way you see your mother, you see, and this might influence the way you see all mothers. So we have to learn our dream language and our archetypal symbols, but sometimes we also have to reinterpret those symbols in a way that is personally meaningful. This is what makes dream interpretation very, very personal and very, very difficult. But if you practice a little bit at it, you will start to understand at least some of your dreams. The thing to remember is that you think of a collection of spirits that are guiding you. They may not all be speakers of your native language. For example, you might have someone from another dimension of reality or another planet guiding you, and perhaps they have never learned your earthly language, whatever that is. So there is universal symbology in dreams that anyone can understand, no matter what language they speak. Dream symbology is its own universal language, but there's also a personal aspect to it as well. Many psychics will tell you that they see things in symbols, and you learn to develop your own experience of what a symbol means to you in a dream versus what it might mean to the collective mind or to another individual. One thing I like to ask people when a certain person shows up for them in a dream, like let's say they dream about a friend. You're not actually dreaming most of the time about that friend, you're dreaming about an aspect of you. So you ask yourself, what does that friend represent to me? When I think of that friend, what do I think about? Do I think pleasant thoughts? Do I have respect for that friend? Or is there an aspect of that friend that makes me feel frustrated or makes me feel irritated in some way? That's the key to understanding what they're doing in your dream. I had a client who dreamed that how her spouse was unfaithful to her, and she got very mad at him in real life. And this caused a lot of problems in the marriage. The poor spouse was taken aback. He wasn't being unfaithful at all and had no intention of being so. I explained to my client that the spouse in her dream was an aspect of her. She was dreaming about herself, not about her real spouse. So this is a dream about yin and yang balance. She is the yin and her spouse is her yang energy. So she's betraying herself in her life somehow. And this message is coming through to show her that her yang is not being true to her yin. She's out of balance somewhere. She's out of coherence with herself. Basically, this means that she's conflicted or feeling like she's betraying her own feelings in some way. When you put this sort of message into the context of what is happening in your own life, and more importantly, how you are feeling about it and reacting to it, then it starts to make sense. Just talking generally about it is difficult without specific examples and the context of someone's life or your own life. That's why learning to interpret your own dreams is useful, because you're the only one who knows your inner experience of something, and that's hard to relay to someone else. So our partner in dreams is the yin to our yang or the yang to our yin. It has nothing to do, especially with our actual partner. Carl Jung called this the animus, if it's a man, and the anima, if it's a woman. So if you're a man, you're seeking your anima, and if you're a woman, you're seeking your animus. This is a little bit like just integrating all aspects of yourself, integrating your yin and yang energies. And this is very common if you are actually on a spiritual awakening journey and you are conscious of being on a spiritual awakening journey. Sooner or later, you'll start to get these kinds of dreams where you are integrating. You'll integrate all aspects. You'll integrate the shadow self, the inner child, the yin, the yang, and so on. Similarly, our father in dreams can be the kind, powerful, all-knowing side of ourselves, the archetypal benevolent father figure who provides for his family. Or it can be the tyrant ego that controls us through fear, the narcissistic, Bible-thumping, dogmatic father that restricted our lives and gave us no freedom. So you have to work out what that father figure is in your life. But the father in your dreams is most likely not your actual father, but what a father represents to you in your life, the father aspect of yourself. So remember earlier we talked about dreams reflecting our inner state, not our reality necessarily, but showing us how we really feel about things, because we are so good as humans at denying our feelings. Most of us do this. It's very hard not to. This is ultimately what leads to disease. And every holistic healer on the planet, if they're any good, will tell you that no matter what illness you develop, it's a reflection of an emotional root cause. So our dreams are there to help us understand those root causes. People say, well, what if it's something you were born with? And then I say, go back to past lives, and you will find the reason why you have manifested a genetic disorder or been born with a disability of some kind. It all ties in to what you selected before you came here as your soul's purpose. And some of us came in to be disruptors to mental illness, to be disruptors to prejudices around homosexuality, around autoimmune disease, around autism. And some of us came in to break new ground, to provide opportunities for others to learn how to heal us if we choose to come in with those conditions. There's all kinds of reasons. It's a whole discussion in itself why we choose at the soul level to come in with genetic disabilities or other kinds of disabilities or have setbacks, physical health setbacks early in our lives. So dreams are very important for unraveling all of this. What we don't always recognize in our waking life and in our conscious mind, we sometimes learn about through our dreams. We can often have, I should have mentioned this earlier, but we can often have past life dreams. So one kind of dream is where something comes up that has impacted you deeply in a past life, and part of your purpose in this life is to unravel that, to work through a problem that you may have died from that life not having solved, not having grown spiritually as much as you wanted to. And so you will get glimpses into past lives in your dreams or in your waking life too. So dreams are just one way of dealing with our problems. They are not the way, they are one way. So there are always many ways to learn about ourselves. Anyway, now we'll talk just briefly about a few common symbols in dreams, and then I'll leave you to do your own research if you're interested in this subject on the symbols that come up for you in your dreams. If you're interested in this kind of material, if you are enjoying this video or podcast, please remember to give me a like and leave me a comment. That helps so much. It doesn't just help me to build this channel, but it also helps other people find this kind of information. We are all struggling on our journey through life. And getting insights like this, getting the kinds of insights that come with dreams, learning to interpret dreams, is such a useful and beneficial tool on that life journey. And leave me a comment. Let me know what symbols come up for you in your dreams. Do you recognize those symbols? Do you understand the messages in your dreams, or are you having trouble understanding them? So we talked about cars earlier. Forms of transport is a very interesting topic in dreams, because vehicles are your vessel, that like your life container. That's the symbolism there. So cars represent your life and how you're managing or steering your life. They skid out of control, they chug up hills, they careen uncontrolled, down hills, they veer off into ditches. Once you know that cars are about how you're managing your life, and car is the most common symbol, but any vehicle that you are riding in represents your life, and we'll talk about a couple more in a minute. But once you know cars are how you are managing your life, it's easy to interpret what's going on. A car on the skids is a life on the skids. Bicycles are interesting. They can mean taking a slower, more deliberate pace. And depending on whether you're riding your bike or maybe you get off your bike and you're pushing it a little way, you have to interpret that. Is it easy to push, or did you get off because you want to stop and smell the roses? Buses are about traveling with companions or traveling with a community. They may or may not be your friends, but has something to do with your relationship to other people, how you are working with other people, your social skills, and that kind of thing. Has to do with community. Unless it's an empty bus and you're the only one on it, and that can mean being lonely or being the odd one out or not being in with the in crowd and so on. So once again, you have to put everything in context of what else is going on in the dream and what's going on in your life. And then you have to go with your gut feelings as well. What do you think it means? What does it feel like it means? Horses are about power and taking up your power or feeling power or powerlessness. I talk about power a lot on this channel. It is part of the mission of the Great Light Rising channel to help everybody understand that we are here to take up our personal power. It's not being disrespectful to God to claim the right to manifest happiness and joy into your own life. Horses can also be about freedom, especially if they look like wild horses. Dogs and cats and all the other animals also have rich symbology in dreams. I'll leave you to look them up and research because you will sometimes find conflicting information. So you have to see what resonates for you and put it into the context of your dream. And it can be fun, researching after you have a dream. Just jot down a few of the objects, symbols, animals, people, etc. that showed up in your dream, and then just sort of make notes about what those things mean to you, what they represent to you, what values and characteristics they evoke in your mind when you think about them. And that's the key to what they mean in your dream. Sometimes dreaming of puppies and kittens can be dreams about babies, but sometimes dreams about babies can be your projects, your new ideas, not your actual babies. This again is where you have to use your intuitive guidance to distinguish what type of dream this is. If it's a precognitive dream, your daughter might be pregnant or you might be pregnant, but dreaming about babies doesn't necessarily mean that anyone's pregnant. If you kill a baby in your dreams, it doesn't mean you're violent or you're a murderer because it's in your dreams. So it's in dream language. It's symbolic. So killing a baby might be killing off a project that you don't want to do anymore. It might be reflecting how you feel about this project. And it might be that you need to persevere with the project, or it might be that you really need to let it go. Your dream is showing you your inner emotional state, that you would like to kill this project or baby. It's not a literal baby. Sometimes people have dreams of demons or see themselves possessed by demons. This doesn't literally mean that you are possessed by a demon again, though it could under some circumstances, but mostly dreams of demons are your own fears and inhibitions following you around. And these might be rooted in traumatic childhood or some other kind of trauma, or occasionally in past life trauma too. So these are your inner anxieties playing on your mind and creating fear. How you feel in response to a dream scenario is much more important than the scenario itself. So when you're recalling a dream, try to put yourself back in the emotion of what you were feeling when that happened. Often, we will recount a dream, oh, this happened and that happened and this thing chased me and then I, fell off a cliff or whatever. But it's not what you did as much as how you felt about it. Were you having fun in the dream? Were you interested? Were you curious? Were you terrified? These are the clues, the emotions are the clues that are going to lead you to the right message. Houses and buildings in dreams are very significant. These are our psyche. The buildings represent our psyche. Our home is our comfort zone. If we're dreaming about our home, we're in our comfort zone. If we're dreaming about a building that is not our home, then we might be outside of our comfort zone. If we're dreaming about our home, but it doesn't look like our home, it looks different somehow, this can be about a spiritual transformation or an evolution that we're going through. So dreams about buildings reveal a lot about what is going on for us. Again, if you're in a familiar and much beloved house, even if it's not the one you live in reality, then you are comfortable in where you are in your life. If you're exploring a vast new house with lots of unexplored rooms, then you're evolving spiritually and asking questions and expanding your consciousness, especially if these rooms are upstairs. If they're downstairs or in the basement, you might be exploring your subconscious spheres, confronting your demons, or integrating your dark side or your shadow self. Fire in dreams is about transformation, and snow is often about new beginnings, a clean slate. Pure is the driven snow. White is about purity and spirituality, the crown chakra connection. And so if you get both fire and snow in the same dream, your life is about to take a huge turn for the better, and you are most likely having a spiritual awakening into the bargain. Colors, by the way, are huge in dreams. So if one color dominates your dreams, I encourage you to go and look that up. A friend of mine had a dream where she went into a dark basement. In the basement was a sofa, and behind the sofa were children. When she entered the basement, the children ran out from behind the sofa and came out to hug her. It was dark down there, but they suddenly lost their fear and ran towards her. She had been doing a lot of healing with me. These children represented her inner child, aspects of herself, who had been afraid and lurking in the dark space behind the sofa where it felt safe. But now that she was healing, it was ready to come out and reintegrate with her. She had another dream. The same person had another dream about a baby who was on top of a doorway, and the baby was dead and it fell off and disappeared. This represented an old fear dying, as she was on a healing journey at this time. She was afraid of the dream, but it had a positive angle because death is scary in dreams, but death is just symbolic of something ending, right? That baby, which represented a fear that she had as a child, that baby had been dead for a long time. That fear that she had been dead for a long time, but it was still hanging over her head, so to speak, on top of the doorway, preventing her from moving on with her life. In the dream, it appeared on top of the doorway that she had to pass through. So it was hanging over her head, and she had to pass through and let this idea, this thought, die and fall away as she walked through the doorway. So that was a positive dream, even though it felt kind of creepy. When the dead baby fell away and passed out of sight, that was her letting go of the fear that she'd held for so long. And so when we spoke about these things together, she felt a deep relief, and the interpretation truly resonated with her. And then after that, she went off with all kinds of ideas of her own, doing her own dream interpretation on other dreams that she'd had. So this conversation that we had together really helped to set her on a path of self-discovery and self-awareness during her healing process. And that all contributed, of course, ultimately to her getting better. So that's very important. If the interpretation doesn't resonate with you, then either you're not ready to face the truth, and there's no good reason to force that. If you're not ready, you're not ready. It's okay. You know, if the meat isn't cooked, it will make us sick when we eat it. So it's okay to wait until you are ready. But the other reason is that it doesn't reflect the truth for you. If it doesn't resonate with you, it might not reflect truth. And so the dream needs a new interpretation. But when someone interprets your dream for you, even if it's not the exact right interpretation, sometimes it helps to point you to the right interpretation, because now you start to think about the dream. You start to think, oh no, that doesn't feel right. But what was I doing in that dream when this happened and that happened? And then you'll feel the resonance of the truth in your body. So back to buildings. If you're upstairs but you can't get out, then you've reached a point of evolution or exploration, but you need to stop and process. You've reached a block of some kind. This is most likely a belief that needs to be turned around in order for you to make further progress or something like that. I'm talking very generally, so don't take any of what I'm saying here literally. You might have stumbled on a point you don't quite grasp yet. If you're climbing stairs, you are on the journey. If you are climbing downstairs, you're exploring your subconscious, as we said, and it might lead you into the basement where you confront those demons that are your fears. If there are rooms you can't enter or refuse to enter, if the house feels like your house, but it's grown, there are some new rooms and you haven't explored them yet, but you don't want to go in there, then there are fears lurking in those rooms, or maybe truths that you're not ready for yet. It's all okay. It's just about where you are and understanding where you are and what's going on. It's not about forcing yourself to enter a room that you're resistant to enter, but it's about noticing that you have a resistance here and trying to figure out why. Because that's how ultimately how you overcome resistance is understanding why you have the resistance, not just forcing yourself to brute force through something that you're resisting. So places within yourself that can be explored at another time, perhaps. So accept in yourself where you are, and don't use your dreams to judge yourself. Your dreams are never judgmental. They are only there to help you, to guide you, to be a reflection, a mirror showing you what your true emotions are. Because in your conscious mind, in your waking mind, you might be in denial or you might be unaware. So your dreams are trying to show you what you have set yourself to learn in this life, the problems that you're trying to work through. We talked a little bit about flying. Flying is often a great dream, a reflection of your heart soaring. And again, it depends on where you are flying and whether you get stopped. If you're learning to fly or trying to fly, this is also a positive indication. And don't be discouraged if you can't get off the ground. You will. Your dream is showing you that you are starting to learn. Airplanes sometimes take us to the highest heights of our psyche. Riding in an airplane can be an indication that life is literally taking off for you. Oh, and by the way, water is about emotions. So if you're in a ship, this is a very emotional thing you're dealing with. And depending on what's happening in the ship, if the ship is tossing on the waves, if it's a choppy sea, obviously you're riding a difficult time in your life. If the ship drowns, you're feeling completely overwhelmed and so on like that. But you might not be in a ship, you might be swimming or just walking by water or walking into water or resisting walking into water, which is you resisting confronting an emotion. And again, it's not about forcing yourself, but about understanding that this is the state you're in, that this is what's going on with you. Anyway, back to airplanes. I was working with another client who had a dream that she was riding in it, that she was given a first class ticket. So she saw herself first in an airport and getting a ticket, somebody giving her a ticket, anonymous person, doesn't matter who it was. And she didn't have any idea where the plane was going. But when she got on the plane, she realized that her ticket was in the first class section. And she found herself in the first class section of this airplane. But when she got to her assigned seat, there was somebody else sitting in her seat. So she asked them to move. And they had to move because she had the ticket that had been given to her earlier by an unknown stranger. And she realized, or we realized together, working together, that her dream was telling her that she was worth first class status because she got the ticket, and that other person had to move over and make way for her because she was just as good as everybody else. What a wonderful dream, eh? How encouraging to have a dream like that. So dreams are not just about your fears and your worries. They're also encouragement, encouraging you to find your power, to take up your power, to be worthy, to realize that you are worthy. And that's where all your dreams would like to lead you, to the place where you understand and accept that you are as good as everyone else and no one is better than you, no matter what they own or where they work or how much money they have or how happy they seem to be on the surface. You are as good as everyone else, and your dreams are messages that help you work through your fears and insecurities, that help you work through your problems and challenges, so that you will eventually reach a place in this life, or maybe the next, where you get that message loud and clear. And this is the healing that we are all here to participate in. I'm Mary Fielder. I'm a holistic health practitioner. I practice homeopathy, Reiki, and I'm a biofield tuning practitioner. I am a Reiki teacher, and on my website, thereikiplace.us, you will find my Reiki class schedule, and you will also find a contact form if you wish to get in touch with me and book a session with me. And I do a 20-minute free discovery session. So if you're not sure what you need and you're not sure what's going on with you, we can just chat for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and that might give you a bit more clarity on how you need to proceed on your healing journey. But I am out of time for today, for now, and so we'll stop here. Peace, my friend. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you next time.